Welcome to Tabo Eminent channel. On May 3, 1469, the Italian philosopher and writer Niccolò Machiavelli is born. A lifelong patriot and die-hard proponent of a unified Italy, Machiavelli became one of the fathers of modern political theory. Machiavelli entered the political service of his native Florence by the time he was 29. As defense secretary, he distinguished himself by executing policies that strengthened Florence politically. Thanks for watching. Request you to subscribe the channel. He soon found himself assigned diplomatic missions for his principality, through which he met such luminaries as Louis XII of France, Pope Julius II, the Holy Roman Emperor Maximilian I, and perhaps most importantly for Machiavelli, a prince of the Papal States named Cesare Borgia. The shrewd and cunning Borgia later inspired the title character in Machiavelli's famous and influential political treatise The Prince, 1532. Machiavelli's political life took a downward turn after 1512, when he fell out of favor with the powerful Medici family. He was accused of conspiracy, imprisoned, tortured and temporarily exiled. It was an attempt to regain a political post and the Medici family's good favor that Machiavelli penned The Prince, which was to become his most well-known work. Though released in book form posthumously in 1532, The Prince was first published as a pamphlet in 1513. In it, Machiavelli outlined his vision of an ideal leader, an amoral, calculating tyrant for whom the end justifies the means. The prince not only failed to win the Medici family's favor, it also alienated him from the Florentine people. Machiavelli was never truly welcomed back into politics, and when the Florentine Republic was re-established in 1527, Machiavelli was an object of great suspicion. He died later that year, embittered and shut out from the Florentine society to which he had devoted his life. Though Machiavelli has long been associated with the practice of diabolical expediency in the realm of politics that was made famous in The Prince, his actual views were not so extreme. In fact, in such longer and more detailed writings as Discourses on the First 10 Books of Livy, 1517, and History of Florence, 1525, he shows himself to be a more principled political moralist. Still, even today, the term Machiavellian is used to describe an action undertaken for gain without regard for right or wrong. He is best known for his political treatise The Prince, Il Principe, written in 1513, which is often interpreted as a guide to political power marked by realism and, at times, ruthless pragmatism. Machiavelli is considered a founder of modern political science, especially for his separation of politics from ethics in analyzing statecraft. Raised in a well-connected yet not wealthy family, Machiavelli received a classical education that emphasized Latin, rhetoric, and the history of ancient Rome, an influence that would deeply shape his later writings. In 1498, after the fall of the Dominican friar Savonarola's regime, Machiavelli began a career in public service as a diplomat and official in the Florentine Republic. He undertook important diplomatic missions across Europe, gaining first-hand exposure to the workings of power in places like France, Germany, and the Vatican. In 1512, the powerful Medici family returned to power in Florence, and Machiavelli, associated with the previous Republican government, was dismissed from office, imprisoned, and even tortured. After his release, he retired to his estate and turned to writing as a way to regain influence. It was during this time that he wrote his most famous work, The Prince, in 1513. This short political treatise argued that rulers must sometimes act immorally to maintain power and ensure the stability of their state. The book introduced the concept of political realism and has since become one of the most influential and controversial works in Western political thought. The term Machiavellian, often associated with cunning, scheming, and unscrupulous behavior, is derived from his ideas. Beyond The Prince, Machiavelli wrote plays, poetry, and historical works, including the Discourses on Livy, which revealed a more republican and democratic side of his thinking. Though he died in 1527 without regaining political favor, Machiavelli's legacy has endured for centuries. His insights into power, leadership, and human nature continued to provoke debate and inspire political theory and philosophy worldwide. Beneath the image of Machiavelli as a cold strategist was a man of wit, irony, and deep emotional complexity. His letters from exile reveal a playful, even poetic soul who found solace in books, nature, and lively conversations. He often wrote of how, each evening, he would don his finest clothes to enter the courts of ancient men, referring to the great authors of classical antiquity. There, through their writings, he engaged in timeless dialogue with thinkers like Livy, Cicero, and Tacitus, men whose ideas shaped his own. This nightly ritual reflects Machiavelli's reverence for history and his belief that understanding the past was key to mastering the present. Despite his reputation, Machiavelli never advocated cruelty for its own sake. He distinguished between public and private morality, arguing that a leader must be judged by different standards than ordinary citizens. His view was not that the ends justify the means, as is often misquoted, but rather that rulers must weigh the harsh realities of governing against the idealism of moral virtue. This tension between ethics and effectiveness has fueled centuries of debate and led to the term Machiavellian becoming a label for cunning and ruthless behavior, ironically oversimplifying the man himself. Over the centuries, Machiavelli's work has transcended politics. His ideas have influenced literature, theater, psychology, and military strategy. Philosophers have defended and criticized him, revolutionaries and dictators alike have drawn inspiration from his insights. Through all this, Machiavelli endures as a paradox, both feared and admired, condemned and celebrated. Despite his brilliance, Machiavelli never fully regained his political influence. He remained a figure caught between admiration and suspicion. His writings, full of sharp observations about the mechanics of power, were often interpreted as cynical or even amoral. Yet to Machiavelli, understanding power was not about endorsing cruelty, it was about revealing uncomfortable truths. He believed in the resilience and wisdom of the people, and in the need for leaders who were both wise and ruthless enough to protect the state. Machiavelli died in 1527, largely unrecognized for his genius during his lifetime. But centuries later, his works would profoundly influence political thinkers like Hobbes, Rousseau, and Nietzsche. Today, he is remembered not just as a ruthless realist, but as a keen observer of human nature, a patriot who longed for a united Italy, and a thinker whose words still challenge us to examine the true nature of power.